our firm. You missed my opening, Caitlin. Come on now. You gotta get the recording going sooner, for Pete's sakes. That was great. So there you go. So Caitlin asked us to put together about a 4-hour presentation for you guys. So Steve and I have that all prepared for you. So we'll be all set. Pizza's coming in a little while, right, Caitlin? You've got all that taken care of for them. So
yeah.
now we've got, maybe 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever. But, I think the key to this is we're here for you. Obviously, we're going to position our company, tell you a little bit about the firm, what we do. Steve's got some, commentary he wants to make on some things. I'm going to have Caitlin talk a little bit about her experiences as an intern with our firm. But we're here to help you. I've done these a couple of places. I just did one at NJT a couple of weeks ago. I've done some BAP FDU from Montclair. And it's really to try to help you guys in Seton Hall. It's really to try to help you guys, to get your questions answered, to get things that you wanted to ask, an HR person. I'm the director of HR. I should introduce myself that way. I apologize. What is an HR person looking for when you apply? What things have to happen? Where do we go? So, any point during the presentation, it's a fairly generic presentation. There's nothing hugely special about it. But anytime during the presentation, please feel free to stop and let's have a conversation. Let's talk. You always hear the adage, there's no stupid question. And I really believe that, particularly in this situation where you're, looking for a job, thinking about your career, what should I do? Because I guarantee you, if you have a question, somebody else in the group here has the same question on their mind and is thinking about the same thing. Okay, so fair enough. Let's not, don't worry about stopping me at any time, asking me a question, asking Steve a question, asking Caitlin a question. We're here to help you and here to make this a service to you tonight. Okay, so my generation is not the best with technology, so bear with me while I try to share my screen with you. All right, and I think if I turn it into slide mode. Okay, can you all see that?
Not the slide, but the PowerPoint, yes.
You might have to share the screen.
We don't want subtitles. I guess I can turn that on. It's fine.
We see the notes of the PowerPoint.
So you see the actual slide here in the middle?
We see the slide with the notes slide.
All right, let me just do this. See if I can get out of this. This is where I need Caitlin's help. Let me stop the share for just real quick. And go back into. It's funny, it's not letting me get out of my thing. All right. So let me try this one more time here. I'm just going to keep it in the mode that I have it on here, as opposed to putting it to. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, let's just go from that. I think somehow the technology didn't work, kind of going the other way. So I just want to start out talking about, in general, kind of accounting firms, because I think it's important to have kind of a macro level view, the accounting field, as it were, and we're a portion of that, because you're going out into that big world of accounting and kind of what does it mean. And so there are various size firms, obviously, in accounting, much as there are in others. Although I think from my perspective, and I'm about 3 years in the accounting industry. I came out of manufacturing prior to this, and education, and the internet world, a couple of other jobs I had. This industry tends to be very stratified. So you've got kind of the big four at the top, right? They suck up a lot of resources and a lot of things, and a lot of opportunities. You have a fairly defined mid-level, which is kind of around 100 people, 100 to maybe 250. And then you have a lot of small individual kind of practitioners that are maybe 1 or 2 partners, and then they've got a couple people in their offices, maybe a total of 10. So it's interesting to me, just from an observation perspective, to see that because it's one of the most stratified industries that I've seen, basically. Of course, the question is, what do we do in accounting? You have to remember, we don't really make or create anything, right? We're here to either audit your books, audit your benefit plans, audit something, so something that you have done as a company, we have to go in and make sure that it was done properly and done towards, various laws. And we also do your taxes, right? And so the IRS says you got to pay them. You say, well, I don't necessarily want to do it myself, so I'll go to an accountant to try to figure out how I can save as much money as I can save. And that's kind of what we do. And that's now, but a lot of accounting firms now are getting much more into things like forensics, right? CSI type stuff, business valuations. We're doing a lot of IT outsourcing for our clients. We're also getting into outsourced financial services, and we'll talk about that, as well. And a lot of firms are doing wealth management now as well. So you're seeing, like, we have about $1 billion under advisement here. So a lot of your firms are creating this huge wealth management side because that's where the growth is. Okay, that's what we're looking at. Locations for accounting firms, they're kind of all over the place. I mean, you have your bigger firms that are in bigger cities, and then you have firms like us that are out in Western Morris County. So they're pretty much all over the place, and you can kind of see different places and go to places. So I think that's an important decision for you guys to start thinking through a little bit. And that is, what does you want your lifestyle to be like, so that what location you want to go to. So if you want to be in the city, there's a lot of firms that are in the city, and you can live in the city, be in the city, and do in the city. It's a great thing. If you want to be in the suburbs, there aren't as many firms like ours out this way. And so you have to kind of look at where you want to be and what you want to do. And there'll be firms around, but you have to kind of think that through a little bit. Culture and quality of life, of course, those are two big things. And we all hear rumors and different ideas about the big four and smaller firms and whatnot. The big four, they lots of hours, right? Maybe not the best quality of life. Smaller firms, maybe less hours, maybe a little better culture, but maybe don't pay as much. And so there's trade-offs on all this stuff. You have to kind of think about that as you're going through this and kind of work that through a little bit. All right. There's this concept called busy season, and you'll hear some of this vernacular as you interview, as you talk to various people in the accounting field. Busy season, basically for tax people, is kind of that January till April 15th. Of course, the last 2 years has been a little elongated, as Caitlin knows. It's been a little elongated out till, one was till July, and one was till May. We're hoping it goes back to April 15th because our tax people are tired. And the auditing side, they also have busy season. So like Steve is busy between January and say the end of March, and he's got some busy times kind of now until October 15th. And so they got some other time. So there's kind of busy season when it's kind of intense work for a little while, and then it kind of levels off for a little bit, and then it's kind of intense work again and levels off. So it's kind of I'll call it a boom bust cycle in public accounting. And so just kind of be aware of that as you're thinking through your decision maker. Compensation structure, it's not too unlike many other private businesses, whatnot. You start at that base level. Accountants start at a pretty good starting salary, probably in the high 50s, low 60s, whatever. And then you kind of build your way up, right? Much like other places. The key to public accounting is the partner, right? When you get to the partner level, that's where the compensation structure really kind of pays off. And so if in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, well, that's where I want to get to, there's a path you have to take and a path where you have to go in order to do that. But again, you get to that partner level, both in the big four, as well as in firms like ours, and that compensation structure is very different than it is at the lower level. There's a whole profit sharing component. There's, post retirement benefits, things that at a staff level you don't necessarily have. Okay. Diversity in public accounting firms are driving towards diversity. I will tell you, it's been a struggle in the public accounting firms. We struggle to get diverse candidates, particularly out here in Western Morris County. So it's something that we work on constantly. I go to schools that tend to have diverse populations, and we try to recruit as best we can and try to increase the diversity of the firm, because we, as do most firms, think it's a very strong selling point, very important. Okay. Then finally, you have this public versus private debate. And you guys have probably been through this, have probably heard this and probably seen this. It's kind of, where do I go? Do I go to the public sector in public accounting, or or to go to private industries. And by private, I don't necessarily mean, sole proprietorships. I mean, Fortune 500 companies as well. That's just the vernacular we use in the industry, public versus private. So I think it's important for you to think through that public versus private, because there's positives and negatives both ways. And maybe when Steve gets his point, he can talk that through a little bit too, because he's kind of examined that as well on the different sides. And there's good things in public and there's good things in private. It just depends on which way you want to go and what direction you want to take. Okay. There's also negatives on both sides too. But it's important, I think, for you to actually have a conversation with yourself and really kind of think that through and try to figure out which direction you want to take. Doesn't mean it's forever, but I will tell you, if you go with the private route, it's very hard to come back into public accounting. So a lot of people start in public accounting, get their CPA, get some experience, do different things, and then they move into the private sector. I'm not necessarily recommending that, but I'm just saying that's typically kind of what happens, kind of in the industry as well. So something to think about, something to kind of work through a little bit. All right. So let me just pause for a second. Are there any questions in terms of just kind of that macro level view of accounting or of accounting firms at all? No? Okay. So as you're in the various stages of your college career, you're always kind of thinking, okay, what's next, right? What's my next step? What's the next thing I have to do to prepare myself for a career? So I'm going to touch on our internship program, and then Steve's going to talk through a little bit about some of the licensing, other things involved in it. So we run an internship program that basically has two components. One is tax and one is audit. Your tax internship is the easier one to talk about because, again, it's quantified, starts in January and basically ends in the middle of April. And you come in as a real, I'll call it a staff accountant, and you sit there and you actually do tax returns. You actually kind of work through the tax returns. You're working on real people's data. You see how much money people make. It's kind of amazing sometimes how much money people make. You see all the different ins and outs of their lives, okay? We typically will recruit for that back in like August, September timeframe. So if you're interested in something like that, you really need to get your resumes into people like myself early in the year, almost before school starts, really, to kind of get into those programs. So for us right now, that program is full. We have a full complement of people in that program, and we're done. Right now, we're actually recruiting for the summer. In the summer, we have a government audit program where we get about 6 people into that program. And tax, we get about 6 people into that program. But again, we're recruiting now for that. So something to keep in the back of your mind. You can't wait until a month before the internship program. You might get lucky. Somebody may have dropped out, but you really want to get in there early to get considered, to get interviewed, to get looked at. Okay. So as you're thinking through kind of your plan and your process, you want to get that done. So for us, that government audit is being recruited for right now. Then in the fall, we have commercial audit, which is kind of what Steve does. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that later on, where you're doing commercial audits. So that's going out, counting inventory, looking at benefit plans, different things like that. We'll start to recruit for that kind of in that April, May timeframe as people are starting to think about the fall, what they're going to be doing in the fall. Okay. So 3 components to an internship program. The best thing to do is I typically put these jobs on Handshake. So you guys should all have access to Handshake at your school. Or Pat, I work a lot with Pat out of the Career Development Services Group. Go and see her. She can help you out and get you, lined up or hooked up with me to do that stuff. I will tell you, as an HR recruiter, when I recruit for full-time positions, I want to see an internship or 2 on your resume. I want to see that you've actually have gone out there and have, tried audit, you've tried tax, and you've made a decision, you actually come to the conclusion that this is where you want to go. All right. That's the most powerful resume to me. When I say resume that has no internships and maybe even doesn't have any work experience at all, I kind of question the motivation and what you're looking for and what you want to do. All right. I recognize, and a lot of the HR people recognize, the last year and a half have been very strange for all of us, and very odd. So we get that, we understand that, but internships now are back. And so you need to get back in there, get back in the game and get an internship. So Caitlin, can I just turn it to you for a couple of minutes? Have to talk about your experience and
Sure.
internships.
Me? Okay, all right. Which one would you like me to start with?
Well, start with the process, and let's talk about what you and I kind of talked through a little bit, and how Caitlin is unique in that she has actually done 3 different areas, and is now going to go back and do another area to see, because she thinks she may like that better. So start with the process, how you actually did it, you know, what you did, and kind of start from there.
Yeah, so I applied for the internship through Handshake, which John mentioned. And we met one-on-one during one of our virtual accounting fairs. So I got to meet him there. And from then on, it was second interview, and then it was an interview with one of the tax partners who we spoke with. And after that, he reached out and said that I got the internship for tax season. So for tax season, I was kind of doing not as much as everybody else because I was only a sophomore. So I did more of like the filing, processing of all like the work papers when they came in from the clients over the electronically and through the mail. So, and then towards the end, I was able to start more of like the simpler like tax returns. So I kind of started to get a feel for it, even though I was only a sophomore. So that was tax. And then that lasted until May because tax deadline got extended. And then I came back in June for commercial audit, which is Stevens area. And I was there for a month. It was more of a slower time, but I was able to get exposed to like all the documents that go into the binders for like every single client and rolling forward the new binders for the new year. So I got to see all like the processes of what needed to get done and everything. And then now I'm with the government side of audit, and I started in mid-August, and I'll be here till around the end of November. And now we go out to different clients, and I do a lot of like the fixed asset testing and testing with purchase orders, making sure that students are enrolled when they say that they are enrolled and stuff like that. So I get to go out and meet a lot of new people and just learn a bunch of more stuff about auditing.
And what's coming up in January?
And yeah, I'll be back again for tax season in January, where I'll be doing mostly just returns, not the processing. So
yeah, and so I think Caitlin's a great example of somebody, you know, who's started early, right? We typically don't take sophomores, but we thought Caitlin was a great candidate, and we really wanted to bring her in, so we got her here. And she has the opportunity to kind of see a couple of different areas. And I don't know, Caitlin, have you found seeing those different areas kind of what you like? Have you kind of started thinking that through a little bit?
yeah, for sure. I noticed one thing with this internship now, I'm really not at the office a lot. And for me, I like to go to the office, be around the same people like all the time. I like the whole like feel that you guys like bring to the office. It's really nice. You feel very welcomed and everything, and you have your own space. And now going to like different clients, you're always in a new environment. You're working with the same team, but for me, I like more like structure. Like I'm in the same place. I know who I'm around. But I think that really depends on the person and what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Caitlin. Thank you. And that's exactly right. And that's why you do these internships, right? Is to explore some of these things. And so I think if you were to take a look at it, a tax person, and again, I can only speak from our firm's perspective. It may be different in other firms, but a tax person basically comes into the office, comes in a cube, fires up the PC, you know, works on tax returns basically all day or some other, you know, types of things, and then goes home. Whereas in the audit side, you're going out a lot more. Steve probably goes out 50-50, but your government audit probably goes out 90-10. They're rarely in the office, you know, at this point. And some people love that. Some people love going to different client sites, meeting different clients, being different places, doing different things. And so you have to kind of get to know yourself a little bit. And what is it that you like? What is it that you want to do? And really kind of to understand that kind of where you want to go, how you want to be there. All right. But again, you know, I think Caitlin's a good resource for any of you who are, you know, looking to dip your toe into internships. What should I do? How should I do it? You know, lean on Caitlin and ask her how she did it and what she did. She's been very successful at it. She's done a great job. And we love having her. And we've had her back a couple of times already. So I wish she were graduating, because then we could offer her a job. Not quite yet, not quite yet. Steve, can I turn it over to you to go through the next couple of lines?
Absolutely. So my name is Steve. I did the 150 program at FDU. Ooh, I think I graduated back in December of 2011. And I came to work at Nisivoccia and have been here ever since. I'll say that the 150 program was great because I graduated with enough credits for my CPA license. It was like one less thing to think about. I actually recently just passed all 4 sections of my exam, so now I'm waiting on New Jersey to process the license. But I would recommend the quicker you knock that out, the easier it is. You're like still in that study mode. I waited, probably not the best decision in the world, but it's what happened. Life got in the way. But you're still in that study mode, that whole test mode. It's definitely easier to knock it out as quick as possible. I'll give you a little bit of advice on the exam. The test knows how much you study. About 4 sections, I had about 100 to 120 hours of study time in for each section. If you put that in, it's passable for sure. So if you go down like the public accounting route, they definitely want you to have your CPA license. And I mean, the 150 program, I came out with a master's from FDU, so that was like an added bonus, if you will. So I came right into Nisivoccia. I did an internship in private accounting. So it was kind of on the other side of it. I was preparing schedules that were being audited by another auditor, and mainly dealing with inventory. Kind of decided that might not be the right thing for me. So I went into public accounting. I think public accounting gives you like the best exposure to a whole different set of businesses. I mean, we audit anything from a commercial manufacturing business, IT, to a nonprofit or an employee benefit plan. So the amount of exposure I got in a short amount of time was huge. I mean, you come to work in Nisivoccia, we're like a 100-person firm. So you get to see all aspects of the audit, not just like I have friends who went to much larger companies and you wind up auditing cash or fixed assets for an entire year just because the public company you're auditing is so big. Here, our clients are smaller. It's like typically like during busy season, we'll go out to a client from anywhere from a week to 3 weeks. It's like, I mean, right from the beginning, you'll start out auditing cash, but you'll quickly move up to auditing different areas of the client's business, and you'll get to see it full circle. So we also do CPE regardless. So if you have a CPA license, you're required to have 120 credits every 3 years. Our firm requires, if you have a CPA license or not, 40 credits per year. So you can't just make it up all in 1 year. But the firm typically does offer enough credits for you to get those 40 credits each year. We usually do like in-house CPEs where we'll bring in an outside consultant to teach a class on just various topics, new standards coming out, areas that we feel the staff needs improvement on or could use extra training on. I mean, a whole host of different CPE opportunities. So our firm is kind of unique. We have a government side where they audit municipalities, towns, public schools. So in addition to the CPA, if you're auditing on that side, they also you also get something called an RAMA, which is a registered municipal accountant. It's unique to New Jersey. John could probably talk a little bit more about that. I'm on the commercial audit side, so I don't have any experience with that. We strictly audit commercial businesses, nonprofits, for-profits, employee benefit plans, things of that nature.
Yeah, I think, there are certainly a number of other licenses that you can get in public accounting, and we don't have to get into detail on all of them. But there's different things you can get as you get in there and things you should get, kind of as you're working through, if you're going to stay in the industry and do that. Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
So just a little kind of commercial now, kind of about us. And this next part will go kind of quickly, and then we'll be able to take questions from you guys and anything you want to do. So our firm is about in our 51st year here. We're a Morris County firm, born and bred. We're located here in Mount Arlington, next to the world famous Davies hot dogs, if anybody knows that. We do have an office up in Newton that serves our Sussex County clients. There's about 2 or 3 people up there. That's more of a, kind of a, just for a presence to be up that way. But the vast majority of our people are here in Morris County. We are the largest firm west of 287. So we're quite proud of that. So we talked about our business, and this is not unusual for a lot of public accounting firms, kind of the structure. We talked about the public entity piece, and that's something that you really aren't going to get taught in school. They really don't teach government accounting in any of the schools. So it's something new, but it is a very, we have 33, 34 people, 7 partners running. There's a very viable career option for people. Even if Caitlin doesn't really like it that much, but other people like it a lot. So then the commercial audit that Steve talked about, and of course your traditional tax practice where you're doing taxes for individuals, businesses, small businesses, partnerships, whatnot. We have people that are multi-millionaires. One of the guys was telling me the other day he was doing a tax return for one of our clients who just made a $20 million donation to someplace. So you run into some of those wild things, as well. We have the wealth advisors piece we talked about. That's growing. That's probably one of the largest growing areas of the company. And again, that's not unusual in other accounting firms as well. And then this has become kind of the latest thing, this outsourced CFO services. So what's happening is a lot of our clients are saying, we either can't find or don't want to hire a bookkeeper or a financial person for our business. We want you guys to take that on. So we want you to use bookkeepers who use books to, record debits and credits, deposits and costs. And so we take that on for a fee for our clients. So you're seeing some ancillary growth. We also do some forensic work. Not that we're proud of this, but I guess we are proud of it. We just put somebody in jail from one of the local municipalities. She stole, I think it was close to $1 million, $2 million from the municipality. We did the forensic work on that, think CSI, right? And we're able to prove that this was the issue. All right. So there are ancillary places that we go and do, but the primary is the auditing and the tax for us. Okay. Just to kind of give you a sense of the makeup of our firm, 110 people, 16 partners. Most of our partners started the firm as an intern or directly out of college, which I think is kind of interesting, right? So they started here, grew here, and went all the way up through the process here. We have 66 employees in actual accounting positions. The rest are in support positions. And just to show you kind of a little bit of the makeup, we have 11 employees with 25 years or more. 40 of 10 plus years, but there's a big shift to younger employees right now. So that, again, we're 50 years old. So if you kind of think back, right, a lot of the people who were first with the firm are now starting, retire, right? They're 30, 40 years, they start to retire out at that point in time. So we have 38 people of our 110 who have been with us for less than 5 years. And most of those are people coming out of college or young people, which is kind of cool. We kind of enjoy that. Of course, I've been here less than 5 years and I'm an old guy, so that doesn't really kind of fit that balance there. But Caitlin, stop laughing about that, because So, so that's just kind of the makeup of our firm. And, again, we're a partnership, which is unusual, which is different than, say, a private industry that has a CEO. The partners own the firm, basically. So I have 16 bosses, which is a lot of fun, believe me, all the time. To have to answer to 16 people constantly. They each kind of run their own piece of the business. They each have what they call a book of business. You'll hear that term sent out there too. And they run that piece of the business, for the organization. So, and then as with a lot of firms, of course, quality of life is now a big thing out there in the workplace. We have a number of things here that we do. You see some pictures of our summer picnic. We do a lot of volunteering. That happens to be a habitat house that we helping to build. We have a golf outing every year. This is the Christmas decorations. When we used to decorate cubes, of course, that seems like ancient history now with COVID and all happening. In fact, unfortunately, we just had to cancel our holiday party. We do have a holiday party every year. We just had to cancel it primarily just because of worries about COVID. But hopefully we'll get back to that kind of next year, get back to those things. So, all right. So Steve and I and Caitlin have kind of dumped a lot of things on you guys. Again, I told you it'd be about a half an hour, but now the rest of it is up to you. We're here to answer your questions. We're here to help you, here to guide you. You're certainly, welcome to contact me even offline with this if you have other questions or things I could talk about. But let me just kind of open that up to you guys and say, does anybody have any questions of either myself, of Steve, or of Caitlin? Don't be shy. There's no dumb questions, like I said.
I do have a question. Are there any open positions right now that you are hiring for the busy season coming up?
For interns or for full-time?
Or both?
So on the full-time side, we are definitely looking for both tax and audit people. If you are either graduating in December or have already graduated, be happy to take a look at your resume and tell you kind of where we stand with that. Very definitely. On the intern side, right now, there's nothing available in the tax season, but there are spots available for the summer for our government audit group, and there's some spots available as well in the fall for our commercial audit group.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Caitlin has my information, so she can get you my email or whatever you need from that. So.
And John, I have a question. You said that for when you're hiring people for full-time positions, you like to see them having experience like in tax and audit. So like it kind of shows they pick like which route they like better. What do you look for in an intern, for example, like Caitlin, who's like a younger college student? Like what were some of the things that you might look at a resume on for someone that might not have had an internship before?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really is. Caitlin should close her ears because I'm going to be very nice to her. So I don't want her to get a big head from this. But no, when I saw Caitlin's resume and I saw her GPA and I saw what she was taking, and then in her interview, she did very, very well. She showed a lot of maturity, a lot of intelligence. That was very telling for her. So when I saw that she was a sophomore, again, I told you, we tend not to take as many sophomores. I'm definitely more lenient at that level, for that. I'm even lenient for a junior, particularly in their first semester. They're just kind of going for their first internship. I think where I struggle is when you're a senior and you're graduating in May and you've never had an internship and you're not intending to have a tax internship in the spring. That tends to be where I tend to have to say, okay, And I recognize there's different circumstances, right? Like some people have to pay for their own college, so they have to work other jobs. I get all that stuff, I really do. So I try to take all that into consideration. But I like to see that you've done some internships. And I know your school does a great job with internships. I know Pat and the group in the career development have a lot of internships. I have a lot of contacts with industries, and you got to reach out and you got to, kind of work with them to get these internships. So, but if I see you having done, I'll give you an example. I just interviewed a young lady today from Montclair State. Her father runs and owns a landscaping business. She actually worked for him for about 2 years and learned QuickBooks and did a lot of QuickBook work. That's great. If I see something like that, that's tremendous. That means you really are understanding accounting and how to do debits and credits and how to post transactions and things of that nature. So you're getting into it, right? Getting part of that. So if you get the opportunity to work in even a bookkeeping type role in a smaller company, that's great too. Good experience.
Okay. And you talked a little bit about the wealth advisory department, how it's like one of the quickest growing parts in the firm. Do you guys offer internships for that, or is it full-time roles? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I don't deal with them quite as much because they're kind of an independent piece of the business. But the answer to your question is yes, they do internships primarily in the summertime. They might do it at other times too if a nice candidate came across. So if you're interested in that, certainly send me the resume and I'll get it to the right person over there. And if they've got something, they'll give you a call. We did have some interns this past summer. They tend to do shorter time periods because that's the kind of way it works in that industry. It's kind of better to do like a month, or a couple of weeks. Does that help?
Yep, thank you.
Cool. No worries at all. Thanks for asking the questions. I appreciate it. Who else has questions?
Would the best way for the students to reach out to you would be through handshake applying or to directly send their resumes to you?
Yeah, I would say both, Caitlin. So Handshake is a great, you should get to know Handshake. That's the one thing. It's a technology your school has chosen to. I don't love the technology, to be honest with you. I think it's a little clunky, a little cumbersome. But it's technology your school has chosen to clear internship opportunities and job opportunities and whatnot. So yeah, you can certainly go on there. The one issue with Handshake is we have to time out jobs. And so sometimes, jobs will time out. You might be interested, but it's already gone. So in that case, those cases, even if you're interested in anything, just send it to me. You can just absolutely send it to me, referencing FDU and whatever, and I'm happy to take a look at it. Or go see Pat in career development. And like I said, she'll send it to me, and she's pretty good about telling you, hey, you may not be the right person for that type of a company. Like, she knows the companies very well too, and so she can also help you to guide you as well to different places. She's a tremendous resource. I would encourage you guys to use her. If you've never met her, use her. I just sent an individual interviewing next week to her to help him with some of his interview skills, because I thought he's interviewing. And so she's going to do that with that particular person. So great person to kind of talk to.
And John, one more question. With your firm's process right now for interviews for either internships or full-time positions, is it still virtual? Like, is it around is like a higher view or a phone call? How is that going right now? Or is it changing constantly?
Yeah, I mean, it is changing constantly, but typically what I'll do is the first interview will be with me. And I just kind of talk you through a little bit, like, what's your interest? What are you looking to do? Why? Blah, 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 just to see if there's just a general fit there. Can you do in the tax, we require 30 hours. For audit, do you have a car? Because you've got to go places in the audit. So we'll have questions like that, right? Kind of get through that. But then we were doing virtual interviews. Now we're back to in-person interviews. And I will tell you, and Caitlin kind of knows what I'm talking about, we didn't do well in our tax group last year. I think it's primarily because we did all virtual interviews. There were a couple people that really struggled that I think we would have, if we were in person, we would have done a better job at weeding out some individuals that maybe just didn't fit quite well or quite right. Unfortunately, the virtual just doesn't give you as much of that sense or that feel. So we've gone back to in person primarily for people. Again, obviously, some people, like, if I'm interviewing somebody from Rutgers or from wherever else, it's hard for them to get up here. So we'll do some more virtual stuff, which is nice. But typically we'll try to do in person. And all the internships are in person. In fact, they were. I mean, Caitlin was here in person through May. Hopefully this year we'll be able to do it without masks or whatever, but we'll see. Go ahead.
You said a lot of the partners, the majority of the partners were actually started off as interns, right?
That's correct. Yeah, the majority of the partners started as interns or directly out of college, and have grown up with the firm and have kind of, moved up with the firm.
Wow, that's phenomenal. But what maybe can you pinpoint that to that? Some things, is it culture, is it focused development?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question. It really is culture here. And everybody uses the term, we're a family. There's definitely a sense of that here. So everything from the name, right, Nisivoccia, there actually is a Ray Nisivoccia, and Ray is 82, 83 years old. He still comes in every day. He wears a tie every day. And he ticks me off because sometimes he beats me into the office in the morning. And I'm usually here before 8. And there's nothing worse than being beaten in the office by an 83-year-old man. But anyway, he's kind of created this firm, and he started it by himself, and he kind of created this firm. And so, yeah. And so, look, I'm not going to lie to you. There's some positives and negatives to that. The negative is it's groupthink, right? So they grew up in this world, and they kind of move forward this world. So sometimes somebody like me who comes from the outside and kind of challenges them sometimes they struggle with that because they have never seen anything else. And so I like to see, that's why I like the young people coming up, because I think the young people are bringing ideas, bringing some energy, some thoughts. I will tell you, and Caitlin will tell you this too, and Steve will tell you this too. We were never allowed to wear jeans prior to COVID, and nobody's really said anything. We've kind of gotten down that way, and so facial hair is the other thing. Ray was very adamant about no facial hair. It was like the Yankees here. I'm like, what is it? George Steinbrenner's around this place? But now, we do have people, and our managing partner has a beard, and we have people with beards and whatnot. So I think it's a kind of a long way of answering your question, Al, but there is a culture that kind of, these guys grew up together and stayed together and been together. And I think there's a positive there. There's some negatives too, but there is definitely some positive because they kind of continue that culture and bring that culture forward as well. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We have to stay here at 5:30, whether or not you're going to ask a question, not just looking at each other. So, nah.
I think that's it. I guess one last question for Caitlin. Tax or audit? 1, 2, 3.
Probably tax, honestly, but I think in January is going to kind of be the tell all because I'll be doing more like in-depth like tax returns. So ask me again in January at the end, and I'll give you another answer probably.
So Caitlin, I don't want to put any of your professors on the spot, and I apologize. I don't mean this as a critical question, but why don't you, if you could describe to people the difference between academic learning and internship learning, see if you can kind of give them some sense of that.
Yeah, I definitely think that what we learn in school is important, but I've learned a lot from the internships that I might not have gotten to yet in my classes, but I definitely learned a lot more so far, like hands-on working with like actual clients and the software and everything than I kind of was like taught in school, but I'm still like early on. So maybe someone else can speak upon that, Quinn, maybe because you're in your graduate level and you've taken like those higher end courses.
I know I remember working through busy season while taking my intermediate accounting too. And I learned a lot from working, but then what I learned from work, was covered during class. So it was like a win-win situation where, oh, I already know that. Or like bank reconciliation, I was like, I know this, but then we did it differently in class, which is another learning aspect to know. So that kind of confused me, but at the same time, it was like, which way am I comfortable with doing bank reconciliation? So I just stick to that and did my best. But yeah, it's a win-win situation. Depends on how you look at it and how you absorb what you learn.
Yeah, and I think what's important to remember is, when you're learning stuff in school, it tends to be a more of a generic type knowledge, basically, right? So when you come to an organization like ours or an organization, we're going to teach you how to do things kind of our way, right? So we use a software called Pro Systems FX, which is a mid-sized accounting firm tax software. We're going to teach you how to use that. Steve and his group is going to teach you how to do an audit kind of from beginning to end. What does it mean? What do you do? And it's kind of our process. So what we're hoping is you come in with a grounding in that and you understand concepts of debits and credits and positives. So we come with that stuff. We're not expecting you to come in knowing how to do taxes or knowing how to do an audit. We spend time teaching you those things and working you through those things. One thing I wanted to just say in our organization, most of our hires come from the internship program. So I'll tell you, I don't want to give you a number, but in the staff level, it's fairly close to 90%. And I think that's true across the industry. You see a lot of companies that use, fairly large internship programs to draw. So that's again why I encourage you to do internships, because that's the way you get offers, you get job offers. And by the way, congratulations, because you are in a great industry right now, in a great time. I think there's like zero, maybe even negative unemployment in the accounting industry right now. So you're coming out at a really good time to be an accountant. It's you will get offers, believe me, you'll get offers out there. Listen, we thank you very much for having us tonight. Caitlin, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to do this and talk to us. Steve, thank you for being with me, my wingman on this journey here. And like I said, anytime you have any questions, you want to contact us, happy to help you any way I can. Pat's a great resource. Go see her in the Career Center. Get to know Handshake. And hopefully someday we'll get you in here for a internship and you leave somewhere.
Mhm. Thank you so much for coming and presenting to us. And thank you, Caitlin, for sharing your experience. And we'll keep in touch with you, John, and we'll send star students on your way.
You're all stars, I'm sure. You're all stars. I do think there was something in the chat box, Caitlin, or whomever you want them to stay after we leave.
Yes, for all the members, please stay. We have announcements to make.
All right, great. Well,
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Good evening, guys.
Bye-bye.
Is Robert there?
Robert Oliva should be here.